Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we are going to see about rewicking one of these aluminum block petrol lighters. We have recently got all the flint tubes in them cleared out. Not in the entire lot that I bought here a while back, but in these that we had on the table for the last good while. And got them all sparking. There are still a few of them that the wicks are contaminated to the point that they do not want to light. Either that or there's some other problem that is causing that. So we're going to go ahead and remove the fill screw, which was a little bit tied up in that wadding. This lighter has a spare empty compartment back here in the back. This is the NORDAD aluminum block petrol lighter, and that spare compartment is a little bit stiff opening up. As you can see, straight through to an empty chamber there. So we'll go ahead and tighten that back down. And then grab the tweezers and see about pulling out this old wadding. Now, another interesting thing about this lighter as we get that first little pellet of wadding pulled out is that there is another screw here on the front, and by removing that you can refill it in this little port on the front, but it is not a big opening like the bottom screw provides. So that too was a little bit mixed up in all that wadding and didn't want to come out. And this looks like it would possibly be a spare flint compartment itself, but I don't think it is. So I'm not sure exactly what the purpose of this long protruding end of this screw is. Doesn't have a tool on it. It could be a poker. Seems strange though that it would screw into the fuel chamber if that was what you were going to use it for. So whatever the case, pull that out of there so that we can get the rest of the wadding out. And there's the third pellet and the wick. And that will empty it out. Just because of the limited area here, I don't want to take the chance of using one of these limper wicks that may want to lay down and fall sideways under the snuffer. So I'm going to twist up the end of one of these copper braided Zippo type wicks, and we're going to try to squeeze it, twist it down through that chimney. Wrong lighter. So twist it right. Well, let me grab this excess fluff of cotton off the tip, and then see if we can twist this down in there. May not work that easy. We'll just have to see. May end up having to use another wick. And there you see it starts just fine and feels like it's going to feed down in there just like we need it to. Won't even need a tool to retrieve it from the other end. So let's put that here at the height, the maximum height that it can have, and still close the snuffer. That looks good. So now we will take some organic cotton we used when we separated it for one of the other lighters last week. It's a pretty big opening, so we shouldn't have to thin this down anymore, I wouldn't think. Feed that down and feed some of the wick down with it as we go, so that we're not just curling all that wick up down here at the bottom right under the fuel screw. Fed down in there pretty easy. And I believe that is going to be sufficient enough wadding so that we don't have it overpacked too densely. And then we would just curl up this little bit of the wick that we have left right here on the bottom side. And we should have enough room still to screw in our fuel screw. And remember also, we need to have enough room to screw in this fuel screw inside. So we may actually have to do a couple of pieces of wadding in this one. We'll take our handy scissors and cut this piece of wadding in half. Fit that down in there past the hole that we are screwing this auxiliary plug into, and then of course not so difficult to get back in place. I get ahead of myself often, and occasionally I even run a lighter, so let that be a lesson and a caution. You want to take your time. Now we'll get the rest of this back down in here with the wick. And that is all packed down in there the way we need it. So now we will fuel the lighter up. And no more densely than that is packed in there. I think that is probably already settled down into the top, but because we've got an O-ring here, let's just try to tighten it down and see if it'll hold all that fuel. Fuel screw tightened down. Spare flint compartment is tight. And this auxiliary fill screw is tight as well. See that some fuel has leaked out the top onto my hand. Not that uncommon for those of you who watch on a regular basis. Now let's just see if this lights any better with a new wick. I have a feeling that this particular lighter, because of the very narrow ignition area, may be more prone to vapor lock than other lighters. I think that was tight enough. Should be giving us the maximum amount of spark we can get. But it is possible that we got some fuel up here on the firewheel. I'm sure that it's suffering from at least some vapor lock. Maybe too many fumes up there in that area. And I'm starting to wonder whether this particular lighter might be one of those that happens to need a Dunhill blue flint. Looked like it started to light back there a while ago, and it kind of blew it out the top, as it'll do with the vapor lock. Got our wick bloomed out. And it finally lights there. So we will move on from here and go ahead and do a show and tell video of this lighter next. And hopefully by then the vapor lock has calmed down. Or maybe I have located a Dunhill blue flint to try in it. We'll just see if this is actually going to be a dependable lighter or not. I like everything about it. I like the engraving, Ray from Pearl. I like the drilled out windscreen. But it does not appear to want to light very well. And also does not appear to be, it is throwing spark, but it's not just an overwhelming shower of them. So to this point, I would say that changing the wick in this lighter did not improve things at all. Until next time.